Love, light, peace, and abundance, y'all. It is I, Queen Essence, and I am here as part of formerly known Wide Awoke Wednesdays, presenting to you Poetry Unraveled. And our new schedule will be on Thursdays at 8 p.m. So, welcome. Thank you for being present. Excuse me, I gotta set myself up a little bit better. Thank you for being present, whether it be at the time that this is airing or if you catch it on the playback. I appreciate you. This broadcast is going to have a different flow from the last one, obviously, right? Because the last one, there were two hosts. Now it's just me. And we brought on guests in the other show. And this one, I'm not sure if we will or we won't. We'll see. However, that's not the foundation for this particular broadcast. The foundation for this broadcast is to unravel the different layers that come with poetry and being a poet. And I get to speak from my authentic self and my experiences and the things that resonate with me that connects with poetry for me. So I'm excited to start this journey with you all. I am so appreciative of the owner of Pulse Poetry Magazine, who is the backing force of this particular podcast. Um, I'm very grateful to her. So if you all could shout her out in the comments, that would be greatly appreciated, or share it, show love by liking, loving, and head over to Pulse Poetry Magazine on all social media platforms. Like, follow, and support the poets on their journey of self-expression, because everybody is expressing themselves from the standpoint of being able to assist others along their journey. So if you can go over there and listen to them and support our writings, our magazine. We even have a TikTok where the poets get to post videos of what it is that they're doing on their poetic journey. So that'd be greatly appreciated. All right. Excuse me, a little interruption there. However, nevertheless, so I, as Queen Essence, am um, more of a spiritual being, right? So everything I do, it is surrounding energy. It involves energy and my understanding of energy and how it all works. And poetry is a perfect medium for individuals like myself, to be able to express myself from the depths of my heart, from the thoughts that I have in my mind, from the energy that I pick up and I feel. I transmute and express all of that into words. And I think it's, excuse me, I think it's important to note, I don't have any water. I think it's important to note that as a poet myself, I write from my heart space. One moment. Yes. So, as someone who operates from their heart space, their heart center, I write with the intention on touching something in each listener, consciously and subconsciously, right? And I would love for it to be consciously. However, I also acknowledge that energy, it weaves in such a way to where it can actually um, penetrate the subconscious mind. So I open myself up for both, right? And I am a vessel as an individual that wants to start a love revolution. I feel like love is the answer. I feel like with everything that's going on in the world, if we would prioritize loving self, right? Going deep and removing the baggage and the layers of the muck and mire that was placed on us and that we accepted and that we received, and open our hearts up to love, the world could change like that. Because once you love you, right, it puts you on a path of really discovering who you are as a spiritual being having a physical 3D experience. And as a result of that pursuit and discovering who you are, you realize that you are connected to the divine source of everything. And when you realize that, you naturally want to emanate who you are, the vibration and frequency of who you are. And you discover that you're connected to the divine source, then you naturally embody love, because what the good book say? God is love, right? So writing for me is a vessel, a tool to utilize as me being the vessel of embodying divine love. And I really believe that I can start a love revolution, one person at a time, one person at a time. And I remember there was a time in my life, many, 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 many moons ago, where I wanted to heal the world. And I remember I was speaking with a gentleman and he asked me, "How do you plan on doing that?" I said, "Loving one person at a time." And I was so young back then. I had no idea the truth and the magnitude of what it is that I really wanted to do. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear me clearly, but I had no idea the magnitude of what it is that I was speaking into the universe. And here I am now wanting to, or actually doing it, because I share my poetry publicly. So I am spearheading a love revolution. So I appreciate you and I welcome you to come along on this journey with me. I may or may not share a piece tonight, based on the rhythm of how everything flows. However, yes, I think that poetry is a tool that can be utilized for multiple reasons. One of which, as I stated, is a necessity for us to do as individuals. Poetry helps us to be able to dig deep, to be able to uncover the layers of the murk and mire that we have on us. And I'm reminded of the idea that, we are in the mud. You know how the saying, "I got it from the mud." Um, that's a real thing, right? Energetically, right? There's a lot that we experience on this journey that energetically can be seen as mud or gook. When I energetically see things, sometimes I see it as gook. It looks like the unrefined oil. You know how it's all thick and sticky and gummy, um, gooey and ooey. I can energetically see that on people sometimes in the chakra centers as well. And it just bears witness that our experiences have a lasting effect on us. And it is until we consciously, dig deep and do the work to truly acknowledge the fullness of what we experience, right? Oftentimes when we're going through things, we continue to push forward, right? We continue to push and go and move and do and make things happen. And we put to the side how we feel, the emotions that we're having, the thoughts that we're having as well, right? And those things get pushed to the back. They get pushed down deep until we're in a space where we can actually fully address them and embrace them for what they are. And I'm reminded of many times on my own journey where I felt that same experience. And there's one time in particular where, I was having to build from the ground up and the ground was rubble. Like it wasn't even like a even surface. It was like the ground and cement had got all busted up. It was dirt and debris and rocks everywhere. And I was supposed to build on this disheveled, destroyed foundation. And I reference in my poetry that it felt like I was in a brown paper bag trying to fight my way out, and the bag was winning, y'all. The bag was kicking my booty. Okay. And then there's another expression that I said that it feels like I was in a dark tunnel and I was trying to navigate my way out and couldn't see clearly because of the darkness that was surrounding me. And I had to, one, clean up all of the mess, right? I had to clean up all of the debris in order for me to build on a firm foundation. And that represents me going inward and me acknowledging and recognizing, what do I think? What do I believe? What is the structure and foundation in which I stand upon? And during that time, I had been living a life where I had been operating in a certain rhythm and a foundation of um, structure and a rhythm of thought for almost, it was almost 20 years. It was almost 20 years that I had, at that time, it might have been about 17, about that time. Yeah, it might have been about 17 at that time. And nope. No, 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 no. I'm a Virgo and I like to be detailed. I don't like to share things and it don't be 100% accurate. So when you see me do that, that's what's happening. However, I'm also freeing myself from having to be right and exact and perfect all the time. So it was somewhere between 13 to 17 years, I'll say. Um, before I started shifting. Um my mind is still doing that thing. So forgive me because my mind is like, well, wait, Robin, is like doing the math. So it was about 15. It was about 15 to 17 years that I had been operating in this rhythm, this school of thought that I had accepted. It had been working for me all of this time, or at least I thought. And then once I got into this tunnel, I was able to, well, before I got into the tunnel, I was able to um, pick up the debris, right? And look at it and determine if it was valuable, if it could be laid in the new foundation that I was building. And a lot of it was not. It had served its purpose and I was appreciative of it. However, the woman that I once was, I was coming into awareness of the new woman that I am. And a lot of it had to do with the principles and the lessons that I learned during my time in that space. I call it a spiritual university. That's how I refer to it. It was a spiritual university where I learned so much, so much. However, a lot of what I learned was the things about myself that was carried over from lifetimes that I needed to release. And an example would be overgiving, right? I was an overgiver. I had abandonment wounds from losing my parents early on in life, amid some other experiences that nurtured that as well, on top of past life experiences where abandonment was deeply experienced and impacted my vibrational frequency, my vibrational output. So during that time, feeling like I didn't know my up from down. However, what I did know is that I needed to keep going forward. So that's what I did. I continued to press and push forward in this dark tunnel, not knowing, what was in the tunnel, not knowing if I was going to trip or fall. So I just took my time. I took my time. I put one foot in front of the other. And as long as I did that, I celebrated it myself. And there was days where I didn't feel justified in celebrating myself and I gave myself grace and I didn't. However, for the fact that I was able to get further enough in the tunnel to where I could see a peak of light, child boo, I I start picking up my pace when I can see the when I could see the glimpse of light and I continue to move forward. And then it came a time where I was at the end of the tunnel and I came up out the tunnel and I was so grateful that I didn't quit. I was so grateful that I kept persevering and I kept pushing and I kept going forward. And on the other side of that, you know, I got reacquainted with me. It was like me being in the darkness was affording me the opportunity to shed layers, almost like being in a cocoon, right? Like the caterpillar being in a cocoon. And I was shedding layers of the old and the things that no longer served me energetically. It wasn't until I got on the other side of being in the tunnel where I was able to consciously process these things and acknowledge certain aspects of my development that caused me to be the way that I was that no longer served me. So then I started physically shedding them. During my shedding process is when I picked up poetry. And poetry has always been with me. I was the girl that had a crush on your brother, you know what I mean? Or your son, depending on your age. And I would write cute little poems. I started off with the roses are red, violets are blue type poems, right? And then by the time I got into college, I was writing full love poems to, the guys that I liked. Sometimes I gave it to them, sometimes I didn't. And then when I got into a relationship, I really was able to fully express myself in my poetry at that level that I was at. And I remember there was a gentleman suitor that I was dating at the time during my time in Temple, and he also wrote poetry. However, he did it in like a storytelling kind of way. So he was telling our love story as a story. And with my name, my birth name is the name of a bird. So it was like a bird in the story. And it was just so beautiful how he was able to creatively express. And it resonated to me the beauty of creativity, right? And the gift of creativity and the beauty of the variety, right? The power in the variety of your creative expression. So if you're someone that is thinking about writing or you do write and you don't necessarily share with people because you're concerned that, your poetry or your writing isn't like anybody else, I'm encouraging you to embrace your uniqueness. You have that unique expression for a reason and the world needs to hear it. So when you feel ready, when it resonates with you, jump out there and know that you'll be caught. You won't fall because there'll be people like me that'll listen and will appreciate your artistic expression, right? And so yes, that's for those that resonate with that. So with poetry being a vessel for healing, so now you're on the other side of the tunnel. You're able to recognize some things that you've experienced, some things about yourself that you see that you need to change or you want to change or you picked up that was never you to begin with, right? And you want to send it back. So you start writing poetry and you start speaking your truth, from your heart. You might start on the surface at first because being reconnected to your heart after being in the dark for so long, it's a process. However, when it resonates, you pick up the pen. When you feel emotional, you pick up the pen. When you feel happy, you pick up the pen. When you're excited, you pick up the pen. When you feel like you just want to express yourself, you pick up the pen and you allow the words to flow. And sometimes you'll write and you'll keep it in the archives and it won't be till months later. Sometimes years later, you go back, you work on it and you create the masterpiece. Sometimes you might write a masterpiece in one setting. Everybody's flow is different. So allow your flow to unravel before your eyes. You know what I mean? Allow for it to take place at a pace that is in alignment with you. Don't rush it. Don't judge it. Be open and be curious, right? Part of this process of healing and utilizing poetry as a tool, you heal your inner child as well. It's so many layers to this, and I'm not all over the place to the listener. However, there's a part where you go through the layers of healing, right? And of course, you're doing other things too. Poetry is not the only vessel that you're utilizing. However, it's the one you're utilizing to express yourself, but it's not the only vessel you're utilizing to facilitate healing. And whatever means that you're utilizing, and you get to a point where you get in tune and in touch with your inner child. And then he or she starts reminding you of the things that you experienced, the people that took advantage of you, the people that mistreated you, the people that hurt you. And it's important that when this process takes place, that you give her the freedom and the space to feel, to touch, to think, to cry, to express him or herself, because your inner child has been with you the whole time, going through everything that you've gone through. However, he or she has been silent and unable to release the emotions and thoughts and feelings attached to what was taking place, because you needed to be able to stay focused to continue to move forward. Because many of us, if we would have stopped to embrace what we were feeling fully in the moment, may have broken down. We may not have been able to get back up, or it may have taken us a long time to get back up in. And you may know somebody in your life that you see them and they seem like they're stuck in a time warp, right? Where they just can't let go of whatever it was that happened to them or whatever the experience was because of how deep it hurts. And usually that individual doesn't have the tools necessary to navigate the depth and the weight of the emotions and the feelings and the hurt. So they stay in a repetitive loop. So you can utilize that as an example and give that person grace, you know what I'm saying, and compassion that that they appear to be stuck for whatever their reasons are. Um, and to know that that could have been you at any point on your journey, especially if you've really been through some things. At any point in your journey, it would be beneficial to look at another that you see that you may have, passed judgment on, or they get on your nerves, or, whatever your thoughts are about where they are, and recognize that at any point in your journey, that could have been you had you stopped, had you given in to the feelings and the emotions that were present. However, instead, you chose to file it away, push it to the back, and continue to move forward, which for many of us was the best thing to do so that we could get to the point where we're coming out of the tunnel and we're writing this poetry, right? And we're expressing and sharing and reliving a lot of times, what was experienced, because many of us have to remember. Many of us don't even remember the things that we went through. So, the poetry is a tool to be able to remember what took place. I know during my journey, there was multiple things that I did not remember. And it took for me to have created spaciousness in my life to start to peel back the layers, right? And, unravel all of the things that was sent to convolute my purpose of why I came here. And when I did that, I started remembering things, right? My father passed when I was 16, and I still had some childhood feelings and emotions about that. My inner child had something to say. She had something to say about that. And I lost my mom at 20. My inner child has something to say about that. And then even reflecting on my childhood and understanding, the adult me understood that, as adults, you're still trying to figure this thing out, right? Like, you don't automatically understand and have it all pieced together as an adult because you're an adult. That's not how this thing works, right? So for me as an adult, I understood that my mom, she had her own things that she was having to deal with and master and grow out of. And she had heartbreak and disappointment, and she had her own struggles, all the while doing her best to be a mother to me and my siblings. And as an adult, I understood that, especially having children myself, right? I understood that before I had children. How I understood it even more having children, because to have to balance your own growth, your own feelings, your own experiences with the experiences of children that you're responsible for, right? Like, you're responsible for food, clothing, shelter, and putting them on a path to where they'll have the tools that's needed to navigate life here on earth, being a spiritual being, to discover their purpose. That's a lot. And it didn't come with a manual. It didn't come with a guidebook. It didn't even come with an example, to tell you the truth. However, I understood my mother's struggles even more because of the things that I had to deal with in my development. However, that did not negate at all that my inner child still had experiences. She still had experiences, growing up where, her mother may have yelled at her at a time that she just needed a hug, or she needed some sensitivity. She needed some compassion. She still had something to say about the times where she felt like she was spanked unjustly. Like, she still had things that she needed to release. And I had to honor that. And I had to create a safe space for her to even feel like she was willing to open up, to share these things, right? And it was poetry that allowed for me to have a safe space to do that. I did many of days speaking out loud and speaking to God and to the universe, and um speaking to my higher self, and even doing mirror work, speaking to my inner child. However, it was also important to get it out on paper, you know what I'm saying? To write it down. There's power in writing things down. And once I did that, the lightness that I felt, right? And me doing it and cultivating a space for my inner child to feel safe, she comes out at will now, right? I go roller skating and she comes out. I do things that bring me joy, she comes out. I'm having a moment of laughter and freedom and she comes out, and it's beautiful when you can interact with individuals that can see the inner child in you. And I'm blessed and very fortunate at this time to be around someone that can see her when she shows up. And it's so funny because I don't always recognize her because it's me, she's me, and I've merged with her. We're one. We're like Siamese twins, the dynamic duo, peas and carrots, okay? And she comes out, and for me it's just me enjoying myself, living in the moment and being free. And when she's seen and is pointed out, it just really warms my heart and it makes me feel so great because it's the evidence that I've done the work, right? I've done the work and I've healed her. And that's not to say that things won't still come up, because memories will still come up. I mean, I've been on this planet for several decades now. I won't say how many, but I've been here for several, okay? And I'm sure that there's more memories that will come up that need to be purged out. However, um, as a result of the work that I have done, she's free, and I'm grateful for that. And I think I might, I think I know what poem I'm going to share with you all tonight. Um, However, I will that this is all resonating. I'm speaking about me, and I'm speaking about the journey and healing and poetry, and I will that you can connect with it. And if you aren't currently writing, however, you are interested in healing and growing and evolving, that you consider, writing some words down. Don't have to be a poem. You could just write a letter. Just utilize the power of writing, um, and the power of expression to allow things to flow out of you into the world, into the universe, into the ears of the divine, so that your healing can be supported. So with that being said, ooh, 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 just dropped my charger. Excuse me. Um, so I'm gonna pull up one of my poems, and I'm gonna share a piece of me from my heart to yours, and I will that it touches you and it inspires you and encourages you to open yourself up to writing and expressing yourself in this manner. And any thoughts that you have, I am willing to receive, and I'm open to exploring them. So, with that being said, it is 28 minutes on the clock, so I'm gonna do my best to get this in 2 minutes. Th- This poem is called "A Reflection of Me," and I don't have all of it memorized, so just bear with me. In my hibernation, I've taken a deep dive revealing, healing from wounds and scars that remain unappealing. I've released blocks, found clarity, and dared to dream. Through days of loneliness, I prioritized my self esteem. I evolved to see a reality I could create. And with each step I took, the pressure would abate. I opened my heart to the love that lived within me, allowing to be seen the divine that yearns to be free. Born from the pain I've endured and lessons I've passed, from sacrifices made, seeds planted, and energy cast. I paved the way to my inner world where my child resides, giving her space to speak, feel, and open wide. I updated my program to reflect who I came to be, a vision ignited, fueled by the will of my heart's decree. Creating space by releasing the baggage that weighed. I journeyed toward the self that I longed to upgrade. I forgave without words, understanding the why, venturing into the 5D to seek the answers high. Asking why led me to a reality outside of this strife. The pressures of the world I no longer invite. I anchored my spirit in the etheric realm's grace, and now with certainty, I found my rightful place. No longer giving away my freedom to simply be. Instead, I choose to dance in the rhythm wild and free. I designed my plan step by step with trust in my team, knowing I wouldn't falter. I was living the dream. I've come too far to doubt. Why would they steer me wrong? So I trusted and took steps, my spirit growing strong. Spreading my wings, I glimpsed the horizon's embrace, where my dreams are birthed and come alive in this space. The dream is not yet complete. I still have jewels to give. Things unfolding by degrees as the old me healed to live. So the new me can emerge vibrant and filled with so much glee until the day I stand face to face with the reflection of me. Thank you. It is an honor to have shared space with you tonight. I, I will and I trust that this reaches those that is intended for and that you receive exactly what you need at this time, not only for today, however, for tomorrow as well. So until the next time, love, light, peace, and abundance, y'all.